Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore, and I love reviewing movies. Sadly, YouTube's algorithm never promotes my movie reviews. They always promote my other types of content. But hey, this is my channel, right? And I can do what I want here, and I want to continue to review movies. So I thought I would try a new format here. I'm going to wing this. Tell me what you think. It's a format I've come up with called 3-Minute Movie Reviews. Now, in this installment, I have 3 movies I've watched I'm going to review for you, and each review is going to be 3 minutes. So News of the World, starring Tom Hanks from Paul Greengrass, Gerard Butler's Greenland, and Michael Bay's Songbird. We're going to review all 3 of these films. Each film review will be at least 3 minutes or less. So let's get to this, shall we? There's so many streaming movies and movies that are coming out that I can't always review or make a sole video about. This will be my ongoing series, hopefully, if you guys like it, where I give you 3 movies. Maybe sometimes I throw in a couple classic movies or streaming movies. Tell me what movies you want me to review down in the comments below. And while you're there, before we even begin, if you want to help support this channel, make sure you've subscribed and hit that bell for all notifications, smash that like button, and leave a comment for full engagement. All those steps help make these videos lift up in the algorithm. All right, so thank you guys so much for doing this. All right, so let's get to our first review. First, I'm going to review Songbird. Let's start the clock. All right, now this movie was intriguing based off of the trailer. It's from Michael Bay. That I didn't realize Michael Bay produced both The Purge and A Quiet Place. And so they used 2 of his sort of like most fitting movies to sort of try to sell this movie, Songbird, which I'll be honest, I thought the trailer looked kind of interesting. Now, this movie had a lot of controversy because the film is about creating Rona, but instead of Rona 21, it's now Rona 19, rather. It's Rona 23. And so 21, it's a mutated strain of the Rona. I don't want to say it because YouTube doesn't let us say it, but the Bud Light, they use it. And it's as if several years have passed and now everyone is stuck inside. It's gone airborne. And it's sort of this like locked in your house thriller, scary movie where this man, I forget who this, I was not a fan of this actor, but he is, I have his name here. He's not very good. I got to be honest. But he is immune. So he's like a bike cop and he runs around trying to help save. Is this KJ Apa? Is this who this was? Yeah, KJ Apa. I've never heard of it. He's been in I don't want to waste too much time. The Hate U Give and some other stuff like that. I wasn't a fan of him. But anyway, he's there trying to sort of be with his girlfriend and save her. So long story short, I'm realizing we're out of time. The movie, cool premise, totally wasted. This movie is so boring. It makes no sense. Demi Moore shows up. Bradley Whitmore from West Wing shows up in this really weird role, along with Craig Robinson, Peter Stormare, Alexander Daddario. Clearly, actors were just like, yeah, I could use a gig. And none of them are strong in this. Demi Moore maybe a slightly. But the premise is just so boring. It gets so insanely silly. It was like straight to DVD, but even worse. This is not one I'd recommend. I really was just starting to get annoyed by it, by the fact that they were wasting the premise as much as they did. This idea of sort of, let's see a horror movie of a worse version of what the world we're living in intrigued me. But the reality is I don't want to see any more movies about the world we're currently living in. I'm so bored and over and frustrated with the world we're currently living in. Give me something else. So I thought they would like give this sort of interesting extreme version that clearly was fake, but you know, the controversy of people saying, how dare you make light of it? The movie's really boring. It's all about who can get the wristbands to be immune, to get out. Interesting ideas, completely wasted, and I'm telling you, not worth your time. This director, I haven't heard of him before. He hasn't done a lot of stuff. I heard of him, Adam Mason. Good on him for pulling this together on the cheap and getting Michael Bay on board. But it's clear Michael Bay bought this on concept alone. No sequences are worthy. The acting is subpar. It's just a lot of the couple acting through the door to an extent that I was like, I don't care about either of you. So Songbird, I do not recommend. I'm going to give that one a thumbs down in honor of Siskel and Ebert. All right, there you go. 3-minute reviews. I'm trying this as I go. It forces me to get to the good stuff. All right, let's reset the clock, and now let's do movie number 2. Greenland, starring Gerard Butler, from the producer of the John Wick franchise, The Town, and Clash of the Titans. That's a interesting trio. This, guys, is Greenland. Let's start the clock. All right, so Greenland. I gotta say, I actually really enjoyed this. We got to do a members-only screening here. Thanks to all you guys who tuned in. If you're a member of Popcorn Planet, consider hitting that join button because we did a digital advanced screening where we got to do it. Thanks to the studio for giving me that invite. But the film is about Gerard Butler. He's sort of estranged from his wife. They have a kid, and you're not sure what's going on. But as they're sort of going about their day and they're sort of begrudgingly getting together for a family event, the wife and Gerard Butler, you sort of can tell something's going on. The sky's weird. They're talking about this comet that's coming. No one's really paying much attention. And then the S hits the fan. And suddenly, it's not just a comet that's going to splash down in the ocean. Total, utter destruction and chaos suddenly out of nowhere goes crazy. And what's interesting about the movie, and this is sort of the first part of it. I'm not going to spoilers, but what's interesting about the movie is they sort of really get into the horrors of what people would do in the scenario. And I got to say, I really was on the edge of my seat watching these characters have to deal with the actions that happen once all hell breaks loose, and you kind of realize, what? Okay, how is anyone going to survive? What the premise is select people are given presidential alerts to attempt to go to a safe haven, to attempt to be I guess, I don't know to say why, but he gets a text alert in front of all his other friends and suddenly realizes you, your wife, and your child are the only people. No one else can come with you. One bag. You have 30 minutes to arrive here. And then it's just all hell breaks loose. You can imagine all the other neighbors who didn't get the invite. What's going on? People trying to get into the bases. What is the base? How do you get into the base? What if they get lost? So much stuff then unfolds as this couple is trying, this family is trying to get just to safety. And will they? Who knows? The movie is just it's nonstop of trying to figure out how they do it. I was very surprised on the scale it was of they just throw a lot of obstacles in the way that there's, you're like, come on, why are you doing it? There's definitely a few of those moments, but I had fun with it. This felt like a 90s disaster film at its best. To me, this was like Deep Impact, but stronger. I was more invested in these characters. Unlike Songbird, I was invested with these characters. I felt for them. You're rooting for them. You want them to try and get away, but can they? And then they'll just smack you with like, oh man, what? This would have been an interesting, like, 8-part Netflix series. They could have stretched this out sort of like a Walking Dead. What happens before the meteor is about to hit? I would have saw more in this world. At the end of the day, though, I saw enough. This was a worthy 2-hour adventure film. I do recommend Greenland. This one, Gerard Butler, man, good for you. Gerard Butler, and I guess this is STX. They're a good studio. What he's doing with the Fallen franchise, now this. I'm a Gerard Butler fan. Also, Morana Baccarin from Homeland and Firefly. She's great in this as well. There you go. Greenland, I highly recommend. All right. Now, see, we're getting through this. This is fun. Puts a little clock on the reviews. All right, here we go. Third and final review to get to here. News of the World, starring Tom Hanks, directed and written by Paul Greengrass of the Bourne sequels and United 93. Let's get to it. All right, so this is a Western in the truest of forms. It's about a Civil War veteran who's going around from town to town delivering the news of the world. That might sound boring, but it's actually quite interesting. We're in this, old period of time where people don't have internet, let alone, TVs or even radios. So newspapers are the only things that get around. But even those newspapers take a long time to travel, and they're expensive for a lot of people to get. So he's walking around, sort of doing these shows, reading the newspapers of, around the other towns. And so people are sitting there in the room, hearing the news, getting frustrated or getting excited, and he's sort of, a showman trying to deliver this thing. And that alone was just this interesting idea. And I was like, wow, this is a cool occupation, cool part of history. And so that's what sort of starts the premise. But the movie is way more exciting. I'm going to say I did really enjoy this film. This is a really wonderfully made film by Paul Greengrass. Beautifully shot, surprising action, seriously emotional scenes. The film takes a turn when he stumbles upon a young girl who only speaks Native American, and he's trying to find her family. And so in doing so, as the world is in disarray, given the Civil War and stuff that's going on in the towns, in the world, he is sort of tasked with taking her to across the way through treacherous areas that are not safe to try and get her to the next of kin that would be responsible for her. And so it's a road trip movie for Tom Hanks to take this girl who is trying to learn the ways of across the Western fronts to safety. And of course, it is not an easy journey. He stumbles upon obviously some friendlies to help him along the way, but more often than not, he stumbles upon a lot of trouble. Look, I got to say, there's actually a few surprising moments of action in this film that Paul Greengrass pulled off. It's a touching relationship between Tom Hanks and the daughter, played by, she was great. The name of hers is escaping me. Helena Zengel. She's wonderful in this role. Mae Winningham shows up. She's really great. Elizabeth Marvel. There's a good supporting cast, not well-known actors, but really wonderful supporting cast that all bleed into the film. There was a couple scenes in this I really, really enjoyed. Tom Hanks does, as always, an amazing performance, and it brought me to cheers, tears, excitement. I gotta say, this was going to open, I think it still is opening in theaters in Christmas Day, and then I think this is Universal, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, apologies, but it will also eventually be on digital at some point too. But if you can see it safely in a theater, this is a big holiday crowd pleaser that's opening on Christmas in theaters that you can, and I would recommend seeing this as a sort of Oscar contender adult exciting drama. News of the World absolutely did deliver. I would recommend it. Kudos Tom Hanks' performance. But Paul Greengrass, good for you as well. So there you go. We delivered 3 reviews for you, all 3 films. To recap, the 2 I would recommend for you, News of the World, for all you adults out there that want something a little bit more engrossing, that's great. Greenland, I also suggest, if you like sort of 90s disaster film to sort of enjoy an edge of your seat, check out fun disaster flick. Definitely check it out. If you want a bottom of the barrel, very low class action thriller that has a great premise that kind of just completely wastes it with soap opera acting and no sensical whatsoever, then Songbird is the one for you. But there you have it. 3 movies and 3 minutes each. Let me know which one you're most excited for. Also, tell me down below if there's any other movies you want me to look up. Ones coming out, classic ones, streaming ones. I want to try and do this segment again. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can always hit me up on social media. And like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Or you can check out these videos. I appreciate you guys. Have a good one.